headquarters of Telesur English in Havana, Cuba. This is From the South. I'm Katrina Goss. A total of 819 COVID-19 cases and 7 deaths have been reported in Latin America, forcing nations to tighten restrictions to stem the spread of the disease. Barbados reported its first 2 cases of the novel coronavirus on Tuesday, according to the Minister of Health, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic. Meanwhile, Mexico's Secretariat of Health confirmed 82 cases of COVID-19 on Monday, while Uruguay's President Luis Lacalle informed that the number of positive cases in the country has risen from 4 to 29, with all patients showing mild symptoms. Meanwhile, Panama's government said it had now reported 69 cases. In nearby Paraguay, which has 8 cases, the government said it would enforce a curfew from 8 p.m. daily to restrict public gatherings. Chile announced the closure of its borders to foreigners from Wednesday after reporting 156 COVID-19 cases, the highest number in the Latin American region. Cuba received the MS Braemar cruise ship on Tuesday after British authorities requested help to disembark and transfer its passengers and crew to the UK. The ship is reported to be carrying 5 cases of the COVID-19 virus.
I can confirm at this time that the cruise ship entered Cuban territorial waters in the early hours of this morning and will dock in the port of Mariel. As is well known, 5 cases of the new coronavirus COVID-19 have been reported aboard the cruise ship. In cooperation with the British authorities, the safe and immediate return of travelers to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland will be conducted. The passengers will be transferred tomorrow, Wednesday 18th, directly from the port of Mariel to the runway of the José Martí International Airport, to preliminary board 4 charter flights commissioned by the British authorities. All measures to ensure a safe, hospitable and expeditious transfer of the passengers and crew of the ship have been adopted. These are times of solidarity and cooperation. Therefore, we are acting according to the humanist and solidarity tradition of our nation.
Brazil confirmed its first death from the novel coronavirus on Tuesday, as Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro declared a state of emergency over the pandemic, restricting public transport and restaurant services. The South American country's first victim was a 62-year-old man with underlying health conditions who died on Monday in Sao Paulo, according to authorities. The city of Sao Paulo and the state of Rio de Janeiro declared states of emergency in a bid to contain the virus. Measures included closing Rio's iconic Christ the Redeemer statue and the cable car to Sugarloaf Mountain, 2 of the city's most famous attractions. Brazil, the biggest country in Latin America, has confirmed 234 COVID-19 cases concentrated in Sao Paulo and Rio. Venezuelan Minister of Communications Jorge Rodriguez reported that the country has adopted the Chinese model to counter the COVID-19 epidemic. This model is based on social isolation and border closures. The purpose of the quarantine is to delay the emergence of new cases to allow for their treatment by the country's present healthcare infrastructure.
We're going to propose to the President that the metro and rail system be closed and leave the surface transportation systems operational. But it is very important that you do not go outside unless it's strictly necessary. It is very important that you keep at least 1.5 meters distance from the person next to you. It is also extremely important for you to wear your mask.
The Ministry of Health of Argentina confirmed at least 9 new cases of the novel coronavirus on Monday, bringing the total there to 65. This COVID-19 outbreak has also hit the global economy and will likely have an impact on Argentina's already struggling economy. More in the following report.
The Argentine economy will likely be hit hard by the COVID-19 outbreak, and some sectors like tourism will be among the most affected ones. Argentina is one of the most popular destinations in Latin America. Just last year, it received about 7.4 million visitors, and the government was expected to make at least $6 billion from tourism in 2020. But now, with the COVID-19 outbreak, tourist activities were put on an indefinite hold.
It is complicated because, as you can imagine, we drive a lot of tourists around and work with the people here. But now the virus was spread mostly by tourists, but also when they are not here. And now there are practically no more entries into the country. Our workload drops by 50%. So I don't know. We have to wait for the restrictions that will be implemented because we are in constant danger of getting infected if tourism continues.
The Argentine gastronomy is also world famous, especially its meat dishes. But even traditional grill houses in Buenos Aires can feel the impact of the novel coronavirus outbreak.
As of Saturday, the number of guests started to drop, and the number of reservations for tourist groups we had are all being cancelled.
Despite already feeling the economic impact of the outbreak, restaurants continue offering their services, even promotions, which are now paired up with additional hygiene protocols.
Sales are a little complicated. There are less people. People try taking care of themselves by not going out. We take care of ourselves by using hand sanitizers and having less people eat inside, as it's prohibited to have a lot of people eat inside. We try putting them to eat at the outside table, and if we are full, we are distributing our guests across the 2 floors, far from each other. We have less business due to the coronavirus outbreak, but if the government says that a quarantine must be implemented, then we have to respect that for our own sake, and wait about 2 weeks to pass and see what happens then.
The government of President Alberto Fernandez is expected to provide aid and implement relief measures to mitigate the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak on Argentina's already struggling economy.
The Honduran government ordered a curfew to halt the spread of the novel coronavirus after confirming 2 new cases for a total of 8 in the country. Honduras has suspended public and private sector work activities, all public events, public transport and religious activities as part of a nationwide curfew scheduled for the next 7 days. According to the decree approved on Monday, the government suspended various constitutional rights for a week in order to prevent the spread of the novel coronavirus in the South American nation. Moving to the African continent, 400 cases of the novel coronavirus have been confirmed across the region, with a number of countries imposing a range of preventative and containment measures against the spread of the pandemic. In a little over a week, 21 new African countries have reported cases, bringing the total affected there to 30. In West Africa, Liberia and Benin reported their first cases on Monday. Somalia, meanwhile, confirmed its first case of the novel coronavirus and announced a ban on international flights in and out of the country. The government had quarantined 4 Somalis as a precaution after they arrived from countries with coronavirus outbreaks, and 1 had subsequently tested positive. Likewise, Rwanda has shut schools and churches for 2 weeks and banned concerts and large gatherings. Meanwhile, Ethiopia introduced its own raft of fresh restrictions on Monday, closing schools and suspending large public gatherings such as sporting events. Ethiopia is the most populous country in the region with 100 million people and has thus far confirmed 5 cases of the coronavirus. Iran announced a further 135 deaths from the novel coronavirus, bringing the death toll to 988 in one of the world's worst-hit countries, with over 16,000 cases reported. The COVID-19 virus has spread to all of Iran's 31 provinces since it first emerged last month in Qom. Health Minister Saeed Namaki reported that shrines and other holy sites had agreed to close until after the holidays, which start on Friday. The move came after Iran reported 1,178 new confirmed cases in the past 24 hours. The Health Ministry continues to call on the population to take this virus seriously and in no way attempt to travel unless absolutely necessary. The Philippines has declared a state of national calamity for 6 months amid the rising number of novel coronavirus cases in the country. President Rodrigo Duterte told reporters that the state of calamity could be extended beyond 6 months if necessary or lifted beforehand. All government agencies and local government bodies are called to cooperate with each other and mobilise the necessary resources to undertake critical, urgent and appropriate disaster response measures in a timely manner to eliminate the threat of COVID-19. A price freeze on basic commodities was also announced. The Philippines now has 187 COVID-19 cases and has seen 12 deaths. Spain has become the fourth worst hit country by the COVID-19 outbreak after China, Italy and Iran, with numbers rising rapidly despite an unprecedented national lockdown. Spain confirmed nearly 2,000 new cases of COVID-19 on Tuesday, bringing a total to over 11,000. The Health Ministry has reported 491 deaths so far, while 1,028 patients have recovered from the coronavirus. Our correspondent, Adriana Cardoso, brings us more details.
Greetings to all from Madrid. Here in Spain, we continue in this state of alarm, which was declared last Saturday. We knew yesterday as the government announced the land borders of the country were to be closed and are now studying the possibility of closing the airspace. In this state of alarm, as I said, Spanish people are contained at home. We only have the possibility of going out with a justified reason, as could be go to work for those people who cannot telework from their houses, or go throughout them necessary, as may be the medical goods in a pharmacy or the goods of a supermarket, food goods. Also, among the measures that have been announced in this state of alarm is the possibility of taking the goods and services of the private health and making them available to the public health, as the aim of the declaration of this state of alarm is mainly the curve is stopped. That is how the specialists call it, which means that it does not continue to contact this rhythm to not saturate public health. With this coronavirus crisis, a great impact that our country is having in the labor sector, hundreds of companies are having to close and thousands of workers are being fired. Labor measures were approved in the Ministers' Council today. The first that was already agreed with the workers' unions is the facilitation of the temporary employment regulation records. They want to reduce the processing time for companies and also offer better conditions to the workers who are unemployed. Among other measures of labor character is forcing companies that can allow their workers to telework from their houses and avoid images like leaving yesterday. Let's see, for example, here in the community of Madrid, which is the highest contagion area in the whole country, look at how public transportation, the metro, found that they have had to close by the coronavirus. They will probably exhibit the payment of the social security fees of this last month or this 491 dead by the coronavirus, while 150 more in the last 24 hours.
More stories coming up, including on the Democratic primaries in Florida, Arizona and Illinois. Don't go away.